What's up everyone? So this video is going to be a little bit personal. I'm doing it on purpose because I think it's necessary to create a video like this. This video is about anxiety. This video is about what I've gone through, and hopefully by me being able to share what I've gone through, might be able to help someone else out. I was very hesitant to do this video at first because it's kind of embarrassing, but I think it's necessary. It's necessary to acknowledge your faults and necessary to acknowledge the things that you're running from every single day. So I'm going to give you a little brief past of what happened in my life. This isn't some crazy edited video or anything like that. This is just me talking to you. And if you got anxiety, watch this video. I believe I have some tactics that'll be able to help you. You know, it might not solve everything, but I know within my heart they've helped me, and hopefully they'll be able to help you. So first, of how I believe all my anxiety started is a couple of years ago, my brother passed away, and my other brother and I, we found him. He had passed away through overdosing through a drug called fentanyl, and he was drinking a lot of alcohol. I was talking to him. My brother and I were talking to him until 5 in the morning. We wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning and he's dead. And I didn't acknowledge the situation as much as I should have. And my brother and I, we tried to wake him up. He was dead. My brother Jeff tried to, resuscitate him using CPR, but he was gone. And it was very unexplainably traumatic. I don't like to use heavy words like traumatic, but in retrospect it was. It affected me greatly, and I didn't realize how much it did. And I'm so growth oriented that I made the mistake of not really processing it, that I had to be the strong one. So I didn't really process anything that happened. What happened is I kept pushing forward and kept moving forward in my career and created great things in my career. But what happened is I pushed all my emotions down. The emotions of grief, the emotions of sadness, the emotions of pain, the emotions of despair. I pushed them all down, pretending that they didn't exist, even though they did exist. Eventually, they started to come out. What was happening is I was having a lot of intestinal issues. I was having a lot of issues where no matter what was happening, I had to find myself running to a bathroom. I was having pain in my stomach. I didn't know if it was irritable bowel syndrome. I didn't know if it was Crohn's disease. I started going to different doctors, and they were basically saying, "You're healthy, you look okay." It was very frustrating because I didn't feel healthy. I felt sick all the time. And I was sick all the time. I was sick all the time up here, and I didn't really understand it. Now, I've always been in the self-growth area of my life probably since my mom died when I was 12. So I've always been looking forward to growing, and I always thought that I always had all the answers, which is a really egocentric thing to think, but I didn't really realize that at the time. I just figured I'll figure this out because I always do. I always acknowledged my bad behaviors, but I was like, well, I could always fix it. So this is one of those things that I thought I could fix on my own. So I consistently tried to pursue fixing it on my own. I changed my diet. I stopped eating gluten. I stopped eating dairy. I stopped eating. I fasted sometimes. And what was happening is I was having digestive issues. No doubt about it. I definitely was. What was happening is these digestive issues were causing me anxiety, greater anxiety. And then as I was having anxiety, I was having more digestive issues. So what was happening is it was kind of like a force going back and forth. So what was happening was I was living my life constantly in fear of certain situations that would happen, certain triggering situations that would happen. And no matter what, I was always fearful. I wasn't really living, I was kind of just existing. And this is coming from Josh Lewis Growth, the guy who wants to grow so much. And that's why I'm sharing this with you, because on paper, it looked like I was growing, but internally, I was torturing myself. I was living a life filled with fear, being paralyzed by fear, being paralyzed by doubt. So I tried to force myself through all these situations. I was reading books. I was learning to meditate. I was doing cognitive behavioral therapy, which cognitive behavioral therapy is great. It really is great. It helped me get over my depression after my mom died. And so I tried to adapt it with my anxiety, but for some reason, these things weren't working. The digestive issues were still happening. The situations that were anchored that would trigger me into having anxiety attacks were still happening. And I didn't really realize how bad it was until some of my friends started to see, and my girlfriend started to see my panic attacks. My brother saw my panic attacks. One of my friends saw my panic attacks. And they were like, "Are you okay? This isn't healthy. This isn't normal." And the crazy thing is, the reason why I'm sharing this with you is I thought it was normal. It's not. If you're going through panic attacks daily, if you're going through anxiety daily, it's not normal. It's something that needs to be addressed. And you need the help of other people. You need to talk to other people about it. Don't be afraid of it. Anxiety, depression, these are things we need to talk about daily. I was depressed a long time ago. Personally, I don't think I'll ever get depressed again because I made up in my mind to defeat depression. But the other thing that snuck up on me in these past few years was anxiety. It was beating me up every single day. So what's the solution to anxiety? So I'm going to give you a couple things that worked for me, and I encourage you to implement them. Now, what I say, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the perfect cure-all, but these things helped me, and they helped me significantly, and they're going to continue to help me. And I'm always going to be looking to grow through these certain situations. So, number one, acknowledge that you have anxiety. For me, I wasn't acknowledging it. I always thought it was something that was an issue, and that might be true too as well. You might have something else that's wrong with you. I might still have some sort of digestive issues if I have a food sensitivity. We all have things that happen to us that can create further process of anxiety. But when you're living in fear constantly, when the thoughts of fear are going through your head, what if I go in this situation, what if this happens, what if that happens, and you're living fear constantly, and your heart is racing, and you have to breathe deeply all the time, and you're having consistent panic attacks, just because you don't even know the reasons why, that's not normal. You might think it is normal, but it's not normal. And maybe it doesn't happen at work, so you think, okay, I'm okay at work because you're distracted. Maybe it doesn't happen when you're around your friends, so you think, oh, I'm okay. But certain situations, it keeps on reoccurring. It's not normal for these things to happen. You need to be able to acknowledge the fact that you do have anxiety, you're having some sort of anxiety attack, a general anxiety disorder, or you're having a panic attack. Acknowledge it, please. I promise this will help you be able to acknowledge the fact that something needs to change, something needs to happen. And step number two is become aware of your thoughts, becoming aware of what you're feeding in your mind. Now, I'm gonna go through the next 3 steps and I'm gonna call them the 3 M's. And it's what worked for me. I'm not saying that it's gonna work for you, but I think if you follow them, they will help. It's not a cure-all, they've worked for me, but they definitely will help. So number 1 is manifestation. I know that sounds weird, but let me explain it to you. So I look deeply into meditation and changing your thoughts and changing your trauma. Now you can do this by deep meditation. How that happens is your subconscious mind controls everything that you do. And we acknowledge things with our conscious mind, but our subconscious mind is really what's running the program. So what happens is we have so many subconscious thoughts that are running the problem. Those are those what if scenarios. So the key is to change the subconscious mind, but how do you access the subconscious mind? Because it's subconscious. So one of those ways is through meditation, and I'm going to get into that. What I started to do was, because I was trying to meditate and it wasn't working really for me, is I began to understand the process of meditation. So what I mean by that is the process of meditation is getting your brain to a certain brainwave. I believe it's the theta state. So when you're about to fall asleep, you're able to kind of like access the subconscious mind. Your brain goes through various different states, and I'm not a professional, so I don't know the exact ones, but it's like alpha, delta, theta. These are the names for the brain waves that you follow. And theta is the one where you're able to access the subconscious mind, where whenever you are in that brain state is when the subconscious mind is activated. That's why when so many people meditate, they feel like they're about to fall asleep because you're hitting that theta brain state, and that's the brain state before you're about to fall asleep. So what I started to do was I started to acknowledge my anxiety as number 1, and number 2, I started to manifest. What I mean by that is I understood what was happening when you're able to access your subconscious mind. So what I did was I said the things that I wanted to become to myself before I fell asleep every single night. So I was saying I'm healing myself physically, I'm healing myself mentally. And then I would describe the fears that I'm no longer having. And I would say those as soon as my head hit the pillow, as soon as I was about to fall asleep, I would be like jarring myself, like almost awake, to the point of, no, I gotta say this, I gotta say it, I gotta say it. And what's happening is I was waking up, and as soon as I was waking up, do you know what thoughts were coming in my head? The thoughts that I was just thinking right before I fell asleep. It's really interesting about when you go to bed at night and you're thinking about all your busy day tomorrow and the fear that you have tomorrow, how when you wake up in the morning you're automatically programmed for fear. This is very interesting to me, and it's very something that I want to develop even more, but it's worked greatly for me. So I strongly encourage you to begin to manifest, not in some hokey way. Remember, this is straight science. These are things I looked up. This isn't some, woo-woo belief. This actually worked. So say the things that you want to become. Feed your mind of the things that you want to become and things that you are no longer afraid of. Acknowledge it right when your head hits the pillow, right when you're about to fall asleep. Say these things before you're about to fall asleep at night, and when you wake up in the morning, the first things that are going to come to your head are the thoughts that you thought before you went to bed, if you access the subconscious in the right way. So that's the first one. The first M is manifestation. The second one is meditation. Meditation. So meditation is, there's many different ways to go about it and to do it. Find one that works for you. I tried a bunch of different ones, but basically the process of meditation is understanding your thoughts. That's the way I look at it, at least. So when you're able to sit down, take 15 minutes for yourself and force yourself to sit down and say, I'm gonna be still, I'm gonna clear my mind, and I'm gonna become aware of my thoughts. There's power in this. We think roughly 30 to 50,000 thoughts a day as a human being. When you force yourself to sit down and you begin to realize all your thoughts and you begin to categorize them. These are thoughts of love. These are thoughts of fear. These are thoughts of pain. And you categorize your thoughts. You begin to understand where they're coming from and what you're thinking and what's dominating your thinking. What you choose to dominate your thinking is what you will become. It's just something, the way we are as human beings, it's how our lives are created. Now, this isn't the cure-all. You won't be able to, cure some unfathomable disease if you're just thinking good thoughts. Maybe you will. I don't know if you will. But the whole process of this is to become aware of the thoughts you're thinking. That's what meditation does. Meditation helps you become aware of your thoughts. It becomes something that makes you go, okay, wow, this is what I'm thinking right now. Is this logical? And this is kind of what cognitive behavioral therapy does. It goes through things, whether they're logical or not. So once you begin to understand, okay, I'm thinking thoughts of love, but I'm also thinking thoughts of fear. Massive amounts of thoughts of fear. Are these logical? Are these thoughts of love logical? Are these thoughts of pain logical? And what I mean by that is, are they logical in the sense of, do they make sense? Would someone else assess the situation and agree with you? Or are they blown out of proportion? Because sometimes with fear, we tend to take the worst case scenario and try to focus in on it. And the reason why we do that is our brains are trying to protect us. We're trying to say, this is the worst case scenario, and let's stay away from it. But what happens is it's so painful is that we make it something that's bigger than it is, and we focus on it every single day. So meditation is one of the things that really helped me become aware of all the thoughts I was thinking. I would start to write them down after a meditation system too as well. And it's one of those things that it takes time, but don't worry about getting it right. Don't worry about getting it right. Don't even think, oh man, I did it wrong. There's certain ways people are like, well, no, in order to meditate, you have to clear your mind. Nobody said what the right way and wrong way is to meditate. My personal belief is to understand a deeper consciousness of yourself. I might be wrong about that, but it helped me. So I strongly urge you to become aware of the thoughts you think. So recapping is acknowledge that you have anxiety. Number 2 is begin to manifest when you sleep at night. Number 3 is meditate on your thoughts. Find out what's good, what's logical. And number 4, this is a crazy one that I never thought I would say, is medicate. I know that sounds weird, but let me explain to you my thought process on medication. So I read so many self-improvement books and understood the power of our mind that I made up my mind that no matter what, I would never need to be on any type of medication because I can control everything with my mind, which is true. You can't control everything with your mind. In fact, they say that some people who were given placebos, which are the actual, like a fake drug, and told that they could create a certain chemical, their mind created a more important chemical than any other chemical that was given to them as an actual drug, because the mind is that powerful. So I understood these things to be true, and I decided that medication was not something for me. So when I say medication, I want to put a disclaimer here that I don't think medication works for everybody. It doesn't. But I do think it's there for a purpose. It is there for a purpose. It's there to help people who are struggling. And it took me a while to acknowledge that. It took a while for my ego to acknowledge that. But medication is there for a purpose. Think of it this way. When we're sick, when we get sick, our immune system is down. We take vitamin C, we'll take a supplement to help improve our immune system because something isn't functioning right? What's the difference between some other type of medication? Your body naturally produces chemicals in your body. Crazy chemicals. The chemicals like DMT, very small parts of it, that if you were to take a drug of it, it would be completely euphoric and different, but your body naturally produces these chemicals. And what happens is, if you have a deficiency, if there's something that's a deficiency, and your body's not creating the chemical, who's to say that you should choose to keep your body not continuing to create that chemical? Meaning like, okay, so whether or not you agree that depression or anxiety is a chemical imbalance or not, maybe it's not. Let's just say, going straight forward, that anxiety could be something that is, something that's chemically not wired correctly the right way. And you say, well, listen, I don't believe it's that way, so I'm not gonna take any medication. What's happening is you're having deficiency in your body and you're not acknowledging it. And you're just continuing to say, hey, I don't need to take any type of medication because it's bad, it's not right for me or whatever. Now, I use a disclaimer on this because maybe it's not right for you, but you have the option to decide if it is. What I mean by that is I always had the option to go to the doctor to see if everything was gonna be okay. And I always chose to ignore that option. So you have the option to medicate. And what I mean by that is, it might not be an actual drug that somebody gives you, but to medicate you with a supplement. Maybe your body needs more iron, maybe it needs more magnesium, maybe you need a little bit more vitamin B12. So you have those options to go to the store, supplement with some vitamins to help regulate some symptoms. You have those options. You also have the option to go talk to your doctor and say, hey, listen, this is what I got going on right now. Is there anything you can do, you can give to help me? And for me, I didn't have a doctor. I had to go to a random doctor and explain the situation that's going on. And that was painful for me too as well. You might be in a similar situation. I don't have a primary care physician. I don't know who to go to. I don't have insurance. I don't know what to do. But you do have the option. You do have the option. It's your life. The reason why some of these vitamin supplements and the reason why some of these medications were created were to create at least a better substantial life for some certain people. So you do have those options. You're able to create something better in your life if you're able to actually choose to take a medication. I'll say it right now, I'm currently on a medication. It's a fairly lower dosage, but I take it every single day, and it has helped me immensely. Might be the placebo effect, who knows? I take it with other supplements too as well, which helps increase the supplement that I take, and I feel great. All symptoms of anxiety tend to have dissipated. Now I go through certain things that are triggers, and I think to myself, well, I need to get that corrected. So this is gonna bring me to my final step, and that is talk to someone. So I'm currently looking for a therapist right now. I know this sounds crazy, right? Like, I'm looking for a therapist, but I wanna find somebody that I can talk to. You can talk to your significant other, you can talk to your family, and I believe you should. But I also think you should talk to somebody who's not biased. The more I talk to people that are not biased, the more I'm able to learn from a situation. So I'm currently looking for a therapist right now. In fact, I need to call somebody back. They just called me. And I want to find somebody that I can talk to about these certain situations so I can fix these certain situations. A lot of times we choose to ignore these situations. We tend to pretend that we don't need to go see a therapist. Listen, I'm not saying every therapist is right, but let's take a look at finding a right car, right? Look at it this way. So the car that you drive right now, if you got a brand new car, you might have went out and you test drove a few new cars. And you might, well, I kind of like that one, I kind of like this one. Ooh, but I like this one and the price is right, I'm gonna go for this one. It's kind of how therapists are. You have to make a decision on which one is right for you. At least so I've heard. I don't know. Maybe I'll give an update later on how it's going. Maybe I'll be like, whoa, it's crazy, man. I'll tell stories about the therapy. The point is, you can get through it. You can acknowledge it. You can get to the point where your life is so much better. And this is how I know my life is better. As soon as I started taking the medication, as soon as I started manifesting and meditating and realizing my thoughts and feeding my thoughts daily, I literally went out to my car one day and I got in my car and I was able to see the actual road. And what I mean by that is I wasn't so focused on the fear that I was just in the process of driving my car and being afraid. I was actually looking around at the weather and being like, wow, I live in a beautiful neighborhood. Wow, that's a really nice house. I was seeing things. And I hadn't seen things like that in like 2 years of my life since my brother died. And I was like, oh my God, I should have done this sooner. One of the greatest lessons I've learned in life is that if there's a problem, you gotta acknowledge it and you gotta fix it. And number two, you have to use other people. You can't just fix everything by yourself. I can't fix everything by myself. There's a lot of things I can do in my life, but I need the help of other people. You know, it says in the Bible, men were not meant to be alone. I strongly believe that to be true, whether you have any religious beliefs or not. It is true. Men, women, we're not meant to be alone. We need to figure these things out. Guys, I hope this helped you. These things were very personal to me. This is a long video, and I wanted to share them because maybe one person will randomly click on the things and say, maybe this will be helpful to me. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, please comment, let me know, and maybe we can help support each other. Thank you guys. You have no idea how powerful you are.